Hey everybody, Tony D and little Joan is in the background eating her food. I can't. She's offered nut today. I don't know why. But we should talk about Antifa still up to their old tricks. Decolonization activists. This is from the Blaze. Vandalize monuments in 4 states over Thanksgiving, because once you see paint splashed on a statue of Abe Lincoln, you go, "Oh, this is all true." Statues were defaced and toppled, and storefronts were also targeted by the spree. What a shock. What a shock. A statue of President Abraham Lincoln was splashed with red paint in Spokane, Washington, while in Minneapolis, the statue of President George Washington was toppled. Washington was the one president that... What? I know, you're a very big fan of President Washington. Come here. Come here. Come over here if you want to be in the video. Come here. Video time. You want to do video time or not? Well, then don't bark. I have no time for your doggy nonsense. Along with defacing the Pioneer statue in another Minneapolis park that was graffiti with the message that read, "No more genocide, decolonize, and land back." What exactly do you think that looks like, you idiots? I mean, I don't know what you think would happen, and that you would think it would somehow be some sort of peaceful transition to a bunch of strangers who could suddenly run complex economies. I don't know if they could. I mean, maybe there would be a few people. And how would you determine who would get the land back exactly? Because Native American tribes were nomadic. They roamed around the country. They didn't have a concept of ownership, was part of the problem. I mean, they didn't own their land, and did the frontiersmen just kind of barge in? Yeah, they did. Not a huge fan, and there was some nastiness on the part of the pioneers and the settlers, but there was nastiness on the part of the tribes too. And I'm not trying to equate that they were equal. Obviously, the settlers had much more advanced weaponry, but it wasn't going to end well, no matter how it went. It just wasn't. People are proud. They have egos. And even when faced with impossible odds, they would rather die than see their way of life, usurped. And at that time, they were being usurped, and there wasn't much you could do about it. And look, not everybody understood everything that was going on at that time. So there were a lot of people who got killed who they were just trying to make a life for themselves, and there was atrocities on both sides. Again, I'm not trying to equate an equality there of things, but the important message here is we're way, way, way past that. So if you want to get into the historical nitty-gritty of every civilization and try to undo their crimes, it's just not possible. It's just not possible to undo their crimes. It's not possible without committing more crimes in the process, because you have people in this country, they're multiracial, multi-ethnic, and how do you punish or reward someone who's part Native American and part colonizer? You can't. How do you do that math? You say, "Oh, okay, you're even, we'll leave you alone." I mean, you'd have to set up a bizarre sort of commission and test everybody's DNA. It would be a nightmare. It would be an absolute nightmare. No, Joan, I'm not getting up. And here's some more from Zero Hedge. F Thanksgiving. Antifa topples statues of George Washington. Veterans to fight colonization. Why most Americans were eating turkey and stuffing, whatever kind of socially distancing gathering in their state government would allow, peaceful protesters, Joan is not peaceful, who never spread the virus apparently, toppled statues and spray painted the anti-Thanksgiving message to celebrate the holiday. So, stop colonization, end Thanksgiving, F12. What's the F12 stand for? I don't even know that one. And this is mostly places where, the local government is, hold on, I have to strangle a little dog. You're totally ruining my concentration. Come here. What do you want? Well, then sit in your bed. What are you getting all mad at me for? Oh, I gotta pay attention to you. Eat your treat. My God, this dog. So a group organized under the Pan-Indigenous Peoples Liberation PIPL network took credit for the vandalism. This happened back in the late 60s, early 70s. You would have these groups, they'd rise up, and they'd have these ridiculous names. They usually had People's Liberation in them. You're just missing the word front. And they would do stuff like this. It's going to get worse because as I've said, let's say they have, I don't know, like 2,000 members if you count people who are just sort of supporters and don't really do anything. Then you might have like a few hundred active members. Active meaning that they'd go to protest, but not necessarily do anything like this. But then you have a hardcore, say, 20, 30 people who are hardcore, who do stuff like this. Then you got 5 or 6 that are crazy. And it's the crazy ones that will eventually, once everything's whittled down, and you get those 5 or 6, the crazy ones, they're the ones that'll do crimes. They're the ones that'll rob banks, hijack planes, and do something, massive. They'll do something massive because they'll be frustrated. They'll realize they need money and power in order to push forth their agendas, that their ridiculous ideology isn't enough. People aren't rising up to support them. They're leaving the cause because it's no longer trendy to hate the United States. And keep in mind, this happened in the 70s. It wasn't exactly a time of, yay, America, but, things were happening. And we had rough times with OPEC and the gas crisis. And, there was stuff going on in the world that wasn't exactly going our way. It would have been a perfect time for these groups to rise up. But they didn't really. They actually lost membership. And they dried up because the trend was over. The hippies went home. The hippies went home, they got jobs, they raised families, and that was it. They became the boomers. That's exactly what's going to happen to most of these people. They're gonna give it all up. They're gonna get sick of it. They're gonna get somebody pregnant, or they're gonna just move and decide, everybody got arrested in my cell but me. I think I'm gonna just stop this. Whatever. They get bored and they just drift off, and they go live their lives, and they just become normal people who did stupid things when they were young. Whereas some of them will go to jail and their life will kind of spiral down and they'll become hardened criminals because of that. Hardened criminals with a wacky ideology. So who knows what these guys are going to do. Vandals tried to pull down Chicago Park's McKinley statue. We always said Abe Lincoln and the Frontier statue. The Youth Liberation Front, an Antifa group, was one of several who incited violence in Portland to oppose Thanksgiving. No. FUSA was graffitied on the base of a statue toppled in Lone Fir Cemetery sometime this morning. The statue was erected in 1902 in honor of Indian, Spanish American, Mexican, and Civil War veterans. Well, that's idiotic. And that happened in Portland, you morons. See, this is what these Antifa guys do. They tear down everything because it's about everything. Everything must go to these people. F Thanksgiving. Overnight, many businesses in Hawthorne Boulevard and southeast Portland were defaced with BLM, Antifa, and other far-left things. So this is, the result of critical race theory, the 1619 Project, and idiots roaming around and not controlling their dogs. Stop. Stop, you. All right. That's it for your Antifa update. I got to go strangle a little dog, and we will see you in the next video.